Dear colleagues, committee members, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to present our research proceedings to the conference. It is a pleasure for me to do so. My name is Gustavo Adolfo Saborido-Forster, Master in Architecture and Heritage and PhD candidate of the University of Seville, together with Dr. Architects Eduardo Mosquera Adel and Mercedes Ponce Ortiz de Insagurbe. Without dwelling on them for too long, briefly herewith the contents for the presentation. We'll look into our object of study, the ambit of research, a situation background, the results, and the way forward. Within the framework of a PhD program and research, I'm going to talk about the intangible neo-Andalusian Jesuit heritage, in particular reviewing the case of Estancia San Ignacio de Calamuchita, from now on San Ignacio, intangible piece to the right of the image, and a poor relation to the three tangible and monumental assets to the left, the Jesuit block, Estancia Santa Catalina, and Estancia Altagracia. These singular settlements were developed as part of the Society of Jesus endeavors in the 16th century. Canonically founded in 1540, it was the expression of the Council of Trent and a specific vocation of saints such as Ignacio of Loyola and Francis Xavier, both Spaniards. Il Gesù Church in Rome, coincidentally called Chiesa del Santissimo Nome di Gesù all'Argentina, by Italian architects Giacomo da Vignola and Giacomo della Porta, became a key element and a model for future developments. Model as a general guideline, but not as a rigid architectural typology to follow irrespective of circumstances and brief specifics. We should consider the conceptual approach of the Baroque era and style, its rationale and its purpose, but also late Renaissance influencing early Jesuit architecture. Neo-Andalusian buildings show this influence, and although San Ignacio would not have been an architectural masterpiece, it would have acquired a Baroque spirit through Giovanni Andrea Bianchi's input, a master architect from European background, among famous colleagues of his time. Jesuit Andalusian works commence in 1553, and in 1579 the order establishes its professed house in Seville, the link city for the Americas. Numerous colleges and production complexes were built or purchased and expanded, among them many haciendas to financially support the Jesuit charter. In 1549 the first Jesuits landed in the Indies, in Brazil. As of 1573, and due to geopolitical and evangelization objectives, the Society of Jesus establishes the mother house in the center of Nueva Andalusia in the city of Córdoba, where the Jesuit block is set up. A number of estancias, haciendas or ranchos also developed very rapidly. Jesús María and Candonga, an outpost, among them. Jesuit operations and architecture were part of the geopolitical concept of Philip II, owner of the world at the time, of a vast conglomerate of peoples and nations. The Spanish monarchy encompassed all continents, but Europe and America stood out. The Society of Jesus would work in the Spanish territory, supporting conquest by word and education, sustaining territorial expansion and consolidation in regions where Spain progressed, reaffirming Trent's magisterium, especially with indigenous peoples, the New Christians, educating middle and high social classes according to the regional needs, developing an economical model for Jesuit growth and self-sustainment, and nurturing able American regions to replicate European conditions, ensuring that fertility and productive conditions remained and were also improved. We could say, therefore, that the overall concept and main Jesuit work feature was sustainability. According to the royal decrees of Charles I in 1534, one of the government divisions was Nueva Andalusia. It encompassed the territory between parallels 25 and 35 degrees south, approximately, spanning almost 1,000 kilometers from north to south in the center of South America, and including Uruguay, parts of Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Paraguay. It was a bioceanic area of more than 2.5 million square kilometers, about 70% of Western Europe, very similar in geographic conditions to Andalusia and the southern part of Castile, Spain, and closely connected with the East European region and Seville. The Jesuit province of Paraguay, to the right, with a center in the city of Córdoba, Argentina, and including Guarani reductions in the Guará region, was within the area. Seven settlements were established along the Royal Road in Córdoba de la Nueva Andalucía, today Argentina. They were the Jesuit block we saw before and 6 estancias, haciendas or ranchos, being San Ignacio, the southernmost one, number 6 in the map, and to the bottom of the right-hand corner. Although with different stages of development through the years, the floor plans of these 7 complexes in chronological order at the bottom of the slide indicate the magnitude of the exercise and of the buildings and the work carried out. These are, however, but a small part of the territorial extent that Jesuit estancias had. The subject is of interest to us from various viewpoints. It involves singular neo-Andalusian architecture heritage, the Jesuit modus noster applied to polyhedral complex challenges, an outstanding 17th century socio-cultural experiment influencing global developments, the overlooked potential of a degraded settlement, degraded architecture that still reflects evangelization as development engine, ruins of a production and industrial model still talking after 250 years, an underlying example of joint church and crown endeavors for the people, the regrettable result of social, cultural and political disruption with lack of strategic vision, an intercontinental theme within Spanish regions with power struggles cancelling sustainability, and an overall pattern with specific architectural identity. Our objectives were to reenact the valuable heritage of San Ignacio, seeking positive action to raise it to a tangible condition, and specifically to confirm settlement qualities, graphically study assets reviewing the present state of knowledge, expound heritage values despite intangible conditions, and explore mechanisms for recovery management and reactivation. The methodology applied involved research of architecture, historiography, and historical bibliography, study of relevant milestones and context, comparative research for typological analogies or discrepancies, technical and historical studies with territorial research, planimetry and georeferencing, including HPM exercises and historic matching, cartography review, review of photography and historical documents, and cross-referencing between planimetry and historic details for and with reconstruction. As well as in other estancias, the territory context is a key element in San Ignacio, and the political action was essential in its demise. The small remnant we see today verifies this assertion, and it shows how the estancia was decomposed through the years. Settled in 1726, it expanded by way of royal grants, purchases and donations until reaching the remarkable area of 123 square leagues or 332,000 plus hectares. The Lake District National Park in England extends for 236,200 hectares, approximately 100,000 hectares less. Most of San Ignacio's was productive land, and it is inscribed within a polygonal rectangle. As we can see here in the map, the north-south dimension would have been 125 kilometers, approximately the London-Southampton distance, and in the east-west direction the distance was about 92 kilometers, roughly from London to Oxford. The area was well served by natural hydric systems draining towards the eastern plains from the dividing range that we can see here, and a significant reservoir adjoins the main complex of San Ignacio, the third river reservoir, around this point here. San Ignacio was situated 110 kilometers south of the Jesuit block in Córdoba city and 80 kilometers south of its sister estancia of Altagracia. It had 20 outposts to be efficiently managed, and some nowadays became towns. Several peaks or heights of Cordoba's mountains were part of its natural landscape, with the Champaqui height being the uppermost corner in the northwest. Now barely there, San Ignacio's main complex was destined to spiritual Ignatian retreats for the order. It responded to typical Jesuit layout around patios, a scheme inherited through the centuries from Rome, medieval Islam in Spain, and subsequent Castilian developments. The residence had 12 L-shaped rooms and a gallery around the main patio. With a 20-meter long church, it formed a U-shaped construction, and the front wall fully enclosed the patio. A 55-meter long rancheria, a hovels compound with 27 hovels, completed the setup to the side, and an 11-meter by an 11-meter square rear patio with services and workshops similar to other establishments was behind the residence. There are only ruins left now, and its visualization is a challenging but rewarding project we gradually work on. The process of glory and demise of San Ignacio is an interesting one, by no means different to many other Jesuit assets in the Spanish monarchy. The early 18th century saw the apogee of the order and all its religious and supporting structures, of buildings and production, of population and outcomes. San Ignacio was developed only 40 years, so it never reached the level of development of its counterparts. Jesuit policy also aimed to make it austere and humble, just appropriate for its function. Because of this, finding details becomes more difficult than for other establishments. That would have also been the reason why it was more easily pillaged and degraded. In 2000, it was not included as World Heritage by UNESCO with the rest of the estancias. 1767 and the estrangement was a lethal blow to the Society of Jesus and its projects. The subsequent partition of the Spanish monarchy and the territorial and political impact were also fatal. San Ignacio could not withstand these events, but it is, however, a remarkable piece of heritage, intangible for now but prone to reactivation. Our research aims to be the roadmap for the process. We mentioned sustainability, an essential aspect of Jesuit settlements. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes by circumstantial requirements. The Jesuit agenda always involved sustainable operations. Their approach anticipated current thoughts by 400 years, and all establishments were managed under this premise. 5 estancias and 30 reductions in the Guairá region were an example acknowledged today by UNESCO as an outstanding and never matched social experiment. The estancias provided economical support to different components of Cordoba's scheme, but some surplus was used to help the Guairás reductions where necessary. We see 3 examples of estancias and Jesuit establishments they supported: Santa Catalina, Jesús María, and Alta Gracia. San Ignacio, in turn, had a considerable production, and its produce was destined to support spiritual retreats and associated works. A number of facilities made it self-sufficient, a status most desirable today. They included a singular hydraulic system with aqueducts and irrigation ditches, brick and lime ovens, a mill, a fuller, metal workshops, an orchard and cattle pens with a grain store, and rich and abandoned land to raise cattle. The aqueduct to the north of the original building is still in place and deserving preservation. Even with limitations in the background information and details, the research evidences that San Ignacio was a sustainable, multifaceted Jesuit operation. Its development and configuration followed that of most Jesuit facilities. The lay foundation, close to the estrangement, negatively affected quality and reputation, exposing it to mismanagement and pillage. The fundamental activity was spiritual, thus relegating monumental architecture. The French location also had a negative influence. San Ignacio's fall runs parallel to social political degrade of a boiling society. With slight differences, this is a verifiable phenomenon in all Spanish territories. The research gave a more accurate approximation to the asset, with planimetry and H-beam work being valuable tools. But it is necessary to continue investigating, as various pieces of information are not totally clear. Reconstruction of San Ignacio's heritage, even at graphic and virtual levels, should be an ongoing project similar to a puzzle. Joint architectural and archaeological research with proper support should continue on from this research. Digital graphic technology would continue being an important tool in the quest to understand this estancia and make it understood and fully known by society. I'd like to finish citing the well-known architect that undertook to graphically rescue Jesuit heritage in Córdoba in respect of the lonely ruin. We make his words ours, asking San Ignacio to let us make it one of the symbols of our work. Jesuit heritage is a living testimony, but also an indictment for its neglect. Its reactivation is a challenge, and San Ignacio has great potential. H-beam research is one of the tools to work toward that. Many thanks for your attention. I hope you found it of interest.